Yes, hello, good morning, everyone. It's a great pleasure to see so many of you here today to talk about the metaverse and its role in automotive retail. My name's Darren Jobling. I'm CEO of ZeroLight, and my personal background is in computer games, specifically massively multiplayer online racing and driving games. And obviously, in the world of computer games, the metaverse has been along for really quite some time. The metaverse has been around for at least a decade, but it's only really now that the focus is moving across into how the metaverse can be applied into other verticals. So it's great to be here to talk to you about it. Now, this has been our most popular webinar to date, and we have a wide variety of interest levels and competence levels, shall we say, on the metaverse. So what we're going to do is we're going to quickly start off on something that's really quite rudimentary to explain what the metaverse is, but pretty rapidly we'll be getting into practical things that you can do now in the metaverse to help your automotive retail buying journey. A little bit of orientation. If you look down to your right hand side at the bottom there's a little button called polls. We will be doing a poll halfway through just to judge what people are up to and what their interest levels are and which area they're concerned about. And then also on your far right hand side, you've also got a questions button. So what happens if you have any questions that come up during the presentation, just click on that button and type them in. I've got a team of people, including myself, who'll be able to give you some, hopefully some feedback. And then if we have time at the end, we'll maybe run through a couple of questions that come up. In the meantime, I want to introduce a gentleman who's been to the jaws of the metaverse and has returned to tell us all about it. And that's Jamie Hurd from our customer success team at ZeroLight, who will be giving you this morning's presentation, and then I'll come back at the end just to wrap up. Okay, so many thanks, everyone, and over to you, Jamie.
Thank you very much, Darren, and hello, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, depending on where in the world you are. Absolute privilege for me to be able to speak to people from all over the world. We've got some familiar names and some new names, so thank you for joining us from wherever you're based. So without further ado, let's get started. So the metaverse, what exactly is it? Why are we talking about it? It may be because you're being asked or feel you need to answer this question. It's what is our metaverse strategy? Now, here at ZeroLight, our history lies in massively multiplayer online driving and racing games. This puts us in a well-qualified position to help provide our partners with the technology, and it's technology we have available right now for the metaverse. So we'll start with the fundamentals, as Darren says, and we'll then look at the practical steps you can take to prepare for the metaverse in the short term. Now, to us, there are three major obstacles to address when you come to think about your metaverse strategy. These obstacles are uncertainty about what it is, the resources around time, effort, and technology that you'll need, and finally, what is my return on investment? So firstly, we do know, the first thing we do know is that there's a lot of hype around the metaverse. There's also a lot of uncertainty around the common understanding of what it actually is. So we get very mixed answers if we asked each of you what you felt it was going to be, especially as a recent study showed that nearly a third of the US population has never even heard of it. So even with all that hype, if consumers don't understand what it is or how to access it, what's that adoption rate going to be once you put one together? Secondly, there's a perception that it can be time, cost, and expertise intensive. So to build a metaverse, there can be quite a long and daunting shopping list. You'll need complex 3D objects and environments. You need design and engaging experiences to give customers a reason to be there. And then the foundational parts that come with it, like the data, security, and safety. So it doesn't sound like you can create one without a very big investment up front, but we are here to tell you that it can definitely be done. You just need to agree what the budget is and be smart about where it's allocated. So once you've decided where that budget's going, what are your returns going to be? So it's great to be a first mover and to be part of that big hype, but is a metaverse going to deliver tangible value to your customer journeys? That's how you can make sure it's going to give you a potential return. So, as Darren mentioned at the start of the call, let's have some audience participation. So just down towards the bottom right-hand side of your screen, you'll see a poll option. It should also pop up at the center of your screen there. Feel free to submit your vote across the obstacles we've just touched on. So we have no common understanding, we have time, cost, and expertise resources, and we have unknown potential returns. So interesting. Yeah, that's flickering away there between different options, but they definitely ring true with the conversations we're having with our OEM partners and agencies recently. So it definitely looks as though value and common understanding are definitely sort of fighting it out at the top. So 38% of respondents so far are saying that the uncertainty, no common understanding, is the main stumbling block there. So thank you for submitting your votes there. So let's try and find a way to make those obstacles appear a little bit smaller. So back to those very fundamental principles to understand what the metaverse actually is. And we believe the metaverse is going to be a mixture of these 6 building blocks. It'll be 3-dimensional, so it'll look and feel solid. It's interactive or gamified, so users have complete control. It's real-time, so it's accessible and consistent across devices. And it'll be social or multiplayer, designed for social interaction from the ground up. Personalized, so the experience is unique to each user, and it'll be persistent. So when you leave the world, it'll continue to evolve, exist, and change over time. So now I want to show you the 4 steps you can take to make these building blocks work for you as an automotive marketer. So you'll see shortly that we structured each of our 4 steps or chapters into 1, the shifts in mindset you need to make, and 2, the practical examples you can take inspiration from to make the metaverse work for you and your brand. So I just want to emphasize that with regards to practical examples, everything you see today is available and ready to be added to your customer journeys right now. You don't need to wait to get started. So, all right, how are we going to get you to the metaverse? It'll involve 4 shifts. So 1, we'll upgrade your content from traditional 2D static images to engaging and interactive 3D. We'll elevate customer experiences from passive to active, where the customer decides what they want to interact with. We'll transform engagement from single player to multiplayer. And finally, we'll look at taking your customer journeys from generic to personalized and persistent. So once those 4 shifts are in place, you'll be well on your way to the metaverse and be in a great position as it starts to evolve. So let's start with shift 1. That's upgrading your customer content from traditional static 2D images and video to interactive, engaging, and immersive 3D content. So at its core, the metaverse is simply a 3D elevation of the online world. And this is a quote from Matthew Ball, a metaverse thought leader. So with the web in its current form, it's a shopfront on a flat 2D experience. We go from browsing on Amazon to in Amazon. A 3D elevation of our current online world is the metaverse's most obvious characteristic. But again, this needs a significant shift in our thinking. We can liken this shift to what we've witnessed in video and a transformation of how we produce and consume video content. So in the past 15 or 20 years, we've seen old 4:3 TV sets like this morph into 16:9 widescreens. Then with smartphones, we leapt to 1:1 square content with apps like Instagram. And now we have vertical 9:16 video thanks to TikTok. So as you can see, things have changed exponentially in a very short space of time. So if we think back to just a few years ago, the idea of watching vertical video was completely crazy. And now we're thinking about how our content will work in these new formats because we know we'll be rewarded with higher levels of customer engagement. And this is exactly where we're headed with 3D. It's rapidly becoming a customer expectation and a default way to communicate ideas. It's not just a nice to have. So what do you need to go from 2D to 3D? And fundamentally, you need to create and launch 3D models at scale. And for automotive, this means having a digital twin of each of your vehicles. Without these, it's going to be impossible to create any kind of product-based metaverse experience. And in this video, what you'll see here is a 3D digital twin of the VW ID Buzz, which I think you'll agree probably looks really, really awesome, actually, looking at that. So in order to be metaverse ready, your digital twins need to tick some specific boxes. They'll need to be 100% product correct and OEM proof so they can be used with confidence. They'll include configurations and accessories so they can be customized by car buyers, animations, such as you'll see on the screen there. They're close to photorealistic, so that they look exactly like they'd expect to be seen in the real world. And lastly, they'll need to be available in different formats for different applications. So it's important to mention here that you should ensure your digital twins can move around the internet. We recognize that currently we have the Unity and Unreal model buckets. Now, they're great once you get into them, but there is no interoperability. They don't talk to each other. Now, what ZeroLight provides is the ability to sit above these game engines, to sit above the model build buckets, so you are unrestricted in where you can use your models, and we're happy to help advise on how to do that. Now, we've just seen a car going through different forms of configuration on a web experience, and what we also want to be able to do is to use our same digital twin for augmented reality, or AR. And what we mean by this is that your digital twin needs to easily work across multiple experiences or different metaverses. On the left, we have a cloud-based twin, and on the right, we have an AR twin. But incredibly, they're both from the same digital twin source model. And to enter the metaverse efficiently and effectively, you need to be able to automatically convert your digital twin at scale. This is because a cloud-based configurator could host a 12 gigabyte model, whereas a web-based AR experience might only be able to cope with a 2 megabyte version. There's a big difference there that you need to cater for in order to enter different metaverses easily. So once you've got your 3D digital twins, you've overcome the biggest challenge of creating 3D metaverse experiences. Now you can get creative and use your digital twin wherever you want it. So that's step one in terms of going from 2D to 3D covered. Now to our second step, which is taking those 3D twins and using them to transform your passive experiences into interactive ones. So one of the best bits of the metaverse is being able to hand the controls over to your users. Fundamentally, that's because the metaverse is something that you do. And this is another quote that I really like. It's the internet created by game developers. The internet in its current format would never have ended up in 2D had game developers created it. And even if we put the metaverse to one side, we already know that interactive experiences in general boost performance. They're measurably better at securing customer attention. Customers spend more time engaging with them, and they are more likely to stick in customers' heads afterwards. Now, back in April, I was really fortunate enough to attend the New York Auto Show, supporting one of our OEM partners with our 3D touchscreen technology, and in which attendees would turn up to the stand, they'd come up to our screen and start interacting with the 3D digital twin of the vehicles that the booth owner was unveiling. And what I found was that attendees would come back to the screen with their friends or their children to have them engage with the 3D model. So not only did this experience initially grab their attention, but they also spent longer on the OEM stand and could recall that they'd had a positive, engaging experience that they wanted to share with their friends and family. So let's take a traditional passive vehicle exploration journey. All touch points are communicated with passive media, images, videos, or text. Options and features are typically listed in bullet points. Configurations and display ads are static 2D images, and interactions are linear and restricted. And in these journeys, users are passive consumers of the experience. They're not active participants. Now, what we can look at is a typical 3D metaverse experience. Now, an interactive metaverse-style experience would place your digital twin in a space like this. It gives the user complete freedom to explore the car from whatever angle they choose. They can focus in on parts that are really important to them, like finding out where they can charge their vehicle, for example. They can customize their vehicle, flicking between paints. We can even harp around to wheel options and check out the different configurations there. The customer's completely in control. They can check out high margin options like lane assist. It's not linear and it's not restricted. They can view differentiators like aerodynamics, as you can see here, with awesome effects. Personalized video assets can then be generated based on the final configuration, and then the customer can move from that metaverse and import it into the real world with the power of augmented reality, visualizing their potential purchase on their driveway, or as you can see here in the lobby of ZeroLight HQ. So interactivity makes this process way more engaging and immersive than a passive one. So we already know that these types of experiences outperform their passive 2D cousins. Lucid Motors' interactive configurator has given us some really interesting statistics. Now, Lucid has seen a 46% higher conversion rate and 47% higher engagement when we compare that to a 2D version. And this further backs up a return on investment obstacle we identified at the beginning of the session. So with the Lucid configurator, which you can play with on their website, customers can interact with all elements of the Lucid model, from choosing paint colors, enabling interactive elements such as animations inside and out the vehicle, such as armrests, center consoles, and lights, as you can see there. And what I really like about this experience is that Lucid chose to showcase their vehicles in beautiful environments like this that reflect their Californian roots. They didn't just transport a real-world showroom online. They made the most of the freedom they had to create this breathtaking experience. So that's step 2 done. You should now have a good idea about how you might transform a passive experience into an active one. And now we'll go to step 3. And that's going from single player to multiplayer. And that's because metaverse experiences shouldn't be solitary or experienced alone. The metaverse should bring us together and be social. We feel metaverse experiences can perform even better if you make them multi-user. So we know that a car buying experience is largely a group decision. It's a group of people involving partners, friends, parents, etc., all providing input to which car ends up on the driveway. So just from my own experience, even by including my 3-year-old daughter in my own car buying experience, she influenced the eventual purchase, primarily because she loves the song Big Red Car by the Wiggles. So if there's any parents on the call, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. And that's why I drive a red car. Now, as an automotive marketer, you'll likely already know that companionship has always been a crucial element of the car buying journey. And that's why 70% of customers say they still visit the dealership to get a one-to-one human interaction. A vehicle purchase is rarely the decision of a single person. We can provide the technology that will allow you to bring them into the journey with you. So what Lucid Motors have done, as we'll see in this video, is create a 3D space that allows their sales teams to sell and guide a vehicle to a consumer remotely. To create a bond with the customer, a product expert could just FaceTime them, but it can be awkward and uninspiring. We know this as transferring an experience, not transforming it. You can enhance this experience by dropping your product experts and customers into the same 3D space so that customers get the one-to-one attention they want wherever in the world they are. The product experts get the opportunity to upsell options virtually. And it isn't restricted to one-to-one interactions either. One product expert can deliver a vehicle showcase to tens or thousands of people, just like you would with a keynote or motor show. And you can see here that the product expert is able to help guide the customer through the configuration of all aspects of the vehicle. This is an experience we call Lucid Studio Live. And what's fantastic is that Lucid customers that have this experience are twice as likely to reserve a vehicle versus customers that don't. The average session length is also extended at 46 minutes, indicating just how engaging customers find it. And within my role here at ZeroLight, I have the absolute privilege of demonstrating and onboarding our partners onto ZeroLight's range of products, such as the Lucid Studio Live product. I personally think this is a fantastic example of how we can digitally connect the OEM to their customers in a metaspace format right now. So you could also create a multi-XR user experience in the retail space that can engage joint purchases. So here's another fantastic example from Lucid. Now this example lets 2 users jump into a shared virtual space to configure the car. You can see the partner avatar is represented next to us. Super rich and high quality. Again, it's represented in California to reflect that brand identity. And again, it's something that I've personally experienced, and I very nearly came away with a very shiny new Lucid Air. But what's really exciting is that the same experience could also be within the cloud, meaning it can be accessed without complex hardware. All you need is a pretty standard VR headset that's able to stream. And this means that customers will very soon be able to have these same types of experiences from home, no matter their location, without cumbersome wires or setup configurations. And finally, why don't we use the Metaverse to turn customer enthusiasm into living, breathing 3D communities? You can create metaspaces that bring customers and prospective customers together in 3D. So if I'm a user, I can bring along my brand new Lucid Air, ask questions, and share my knowledge with other owners, which could potentially increase my lifetime value to your brand. So that was chapter 3. And hopefully you'll agree that there are some exciting opportunities to make your journeys multiplayer within the Metaverse. Now to our final recommendation, taking your journeys from generic to personalized and persistent. So we know what personalization in the car buying journey means right now. It's personalized emails, it's digital brochures, it's direct mail, and it's social targeting, etc. But what does personalized mean when we put a metaverse spin on it? So we think it means personalized virtual spaces like this one. They are persistent and have a sense of physicality to them. And really importantly, the customer can have ownership of it. They can customize it and control it. It's from this space that a customer can access every aspect of their buying journey, and it would be completely personalized to them. And a hub like this starts to look like a very valuable prospect as the cookieless world gets nearer and nearer. So how would an experience like this work for the automotive world? So once a customer registers an account, their personal 3D space is generated in real time. It's a customizable hub where the customer can explore the vehicle, configure it, play with it, and invite product experts in to provide guidance. It then persists after a reservation or purchase, morphing into a shared space where the customer can show off their NFTs, for example, and even interact with other owners about upgrades and ownership tips. And this also wraps up the other shifts we've seen and spoken about today, in that it's 3D. It requires active participation, not only from your friends, your family, you can have your dealers along there as well to join in the conversation, and it's designed for social interaction from the ground up. And sadly, that does bring us to the end of our final chapter, where we spoke about taking your journeys from generic to personalized. Now, thank you, everyone. We're nearing the end of the session, but it should be clear to you now what you need to help you and your brand start your metaverse customer experience. And in summary, we know it'll be 3D, it'll be active, it'll be social, and it will be personalized. So now you know what to do. Book a meeting with your tech team to get those 3D digital models in order and start to create interactive, multiplayer, and personalized experiences. And one final note is that ZeroLight, we're not an agency, we're a technology company. We work not only directly with the OEMs themselves, but the OEMs agencies to help bring their digital customer experiences to life. We think the metaverse is a very exciting opportunity. Everything we've presented today has been created with or powered by the ZeroLight platform, which can be used by your agencies to create these sorts of experiences. And we'll obviously reach out after this session to see if we have any other questions or would like to discuss your next brief. And you're also welcome to follow us on LinkedIn to keep updated with exciting product launches and upcoming webinars. So I think what we can do now is just to take some questions that have come in. So we've obviously got Darren back on the call. Hi, Darren. And we do have a quick question here in the chat just about avatars. And we want to know, are the avatars shown here representative of what will be in the metaverse?
Good question. So I think in some ways, for an effective experience, you're creating an illusion. You know, in terms of, you still want somebody to be impressed by the vehicle so that they are inspired to buy it and can understand the features of it. And in some ways, obviously, avatars, I would encourage everybody to go on something like Ready Player Me and create their own avatars and have a look at what that looks like. So I would say it's a brand choice. So certainly with Lucid, I think they went for more of an what we call an alias. So that they're not so personalized because they believe that helps with the realism of the experience. The ID Buzz, actually, because it's such a fun car, I wasn't so sure how the avatars would look next to it, but I'm quite impressed with it. Actually sort of fits in with the vibe. So I would say it's largely a customer choice, and there's a wide range of options.
Great. Thank you, Darren. We have another question about interoperability for the metaverse. I think we covered that briefly during one of the slides, but we've got how important is interoperability for the metaverse? And they are talking about avatars here, but I think we just want to specify that we're obviously talking about the differences in game engines and how we want to be able to sit above those.
Yeah, so I think it's a very, we don't know who is going to win in the metaverse, to be perfectly honest. Most probably, the winner in the metaverse does not exist yet as a company. And that's one of the things with technology. You always get the new players coming in that shake everything up. So I think what's absolutely key is, as you were saying, is if you go for any one game engine, they're both great, both Unity and Unreal, but you end up stuck in a bucket and you can't go left or right. So really, when you're thinking about your digital twins, what you need to do is to sit above the game engine, because there's Unity, Unreal, there's going to be obviously Omniverse coming from NVIDIA, etc., and your digital twins need to sit above that. If you go into a bucket, you're not going to have that movement across the metaverse. And the metaverse is all about moving your vehicle in your assets and your NFTs all the way through the metaverse.
Great. Thank you, Darren. And one final question we have for multiplayer experiences are expecting an interaction between avatars and the car as a test drive. Bring your family and friends for a tour and so on. Are you able to provide anything like this? I think this is probably best answered with our concierge product or Lucid Studio Live.
Yes. So obviously, in terms of we're from the world of car driving, so we did games like Formula One, NASCAR, etc. So yes, the car driving, and I think there was a video in there that showed the I think it was a VW ID4 driving. So yes, driving is definitely doable. The technology can do it. I think it's picking the right point for it in the customer journey. Certainly, when you think about metaverse experiences, if you're interested in driving, there is a simple option, which is things like product placement within a game. You just have to think whether that fits in with your brand values. I think what's more is you also need to decide, is this experiential? Are you looking to create an experience to enhance your brand, or are you looking to sell a vehicle? We're squarely, I think, in terms of we're always thinking, hey, how is this going to help for people to understand my vehicle, understand the unique technology in that vehicle, and help me to sell it? Because something like the metaverse in 3D is great, but obviously it also needs to, your return on investment needs to come from somewhere.
Great. Thank you, Darren. Yeah, there are a couple of other questions trickling in, but I think we could probably call it a day there and get back to everybody that's kindly popped something in the chat. But I'll hand back over to you here, if that's okay. Thank you very much.
Yes. So it just remains to say, first of all, thank you, Jamie. Very good effort. And it's a young person's game, everyone. So he's done a good job for us there this morning. If you've enjoyed the webinar, why don't you give us a shout out on LinkedIn or social media? Why not? And certainly, if we can help, if we can offer you some advice, it's all about practical things that we can do to assist. So many thanks, everybody. Huge pleasure to see so many people here today, and have lots of fun in the metaverse. Cheers. Bye bye.
Thank you.